Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanys from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host. Let's see if I can get this right. Nope. Jennifer Jankowski. She's over there. And even further over there, we're joined by our special guest, Jonathan Dailey.
Hello,
Delaney. Jonathan Dailey.
That's a new one. Usually it's Bailey.
I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. Is there somebody in the audience with the name Delaney? I'm just wondering. Put that out there. No, but we do have Kaylee, Pogo Pogo. Hello, hello. And we have Hypnocity.
Hi, Nalani.
Hey, Nalani. Yeah, we noticed that.
We chatted astrally, right?
Yeah, we were joking about that because I actually changed my shirt. I had a different one on. I'm like, no, I want to wear this one instead. So I got his message.
On this morning, so I have no excuse.
I got Jonathan's message. It's all good.
Hi, Gerald.
Gerald is lurking.
Hey.
Hello, hello. And we have Annie in the audience.
Hello.
Hey, Annie. Thank you all for joining us. So we have our usual shtick. Well, it's actually in terms of, energy updating and whatnot. We should hear about Jonathan first. I think I want to hear about Jonathan first before we do the update. Jonathan, tell people about you. What do you do?
Gosh, got a few hours.
We do. Well, no, we have 1 hour, but you're the guest.
My life, I never really thought of it as being anything special until I joined ThroTube, and everyone wanted to interview me because I had such an amazing life. I'm like, who, me? So that's been pretty eye-opening. Not many people can say they were born in Mexico on the side of a pyramid.
It's pretty impressive.
Half grew up in California, well, mostly California, with like a big chunk of my childhood in Costa Rica. My whole life has been about energy work and witchcraft and that kind of stuff, the esoteric and the occult. And I got my first tarot deck when I was 13. And then I always say that it was the same summer, but I'm thinking now it's probably the summer after, when I was 14, that I took I went to summer camp in New Jersey, and this one summer that I was there, I can never remember which summer it is. That's why I was always 13, 14. I don't know. One of those. It was a class that taught all things New Age, which is what it was called back then. I don't know, tell you how long ago that was, but I've been doing this stuff for a long time.
Well, you've been doing it for lifetimes, let's face it.
Yeah, multiple lifetimes.
Yeah.
But even in this lifetime, like, I've had these opportunities that people are like, you did what now? Like, I think it was second grade. My mom was the fifth grade teacher in the school that I was at, and had brought in this woman who was a shaman of the Ohlone people, and who did told us some of their tales and did an energy circle with us. Well, nice. She pulled my mom aside and was like, you need to nurture him because he's strong in spirit. So, I mean, that was when I was in second grade. Like, yeah, that doesn't happen to kids in second grade. I mean,
not at school usually. No.
Not at school, where I was with the fifth grade class. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's just been like that. I mean, I had that class when I was in summer camp when I was 13, 14, and that gave me a love of all things esoteric and occult. I mean, we did tarot, runes, pendulums, energy work, crystal work. The guy did a group past life regression for all of us, which got me like totally obsessed with past life work. And then from there, it's like, even in high school, like my senior year of high school, instead of taking regular English class, my first semester was poetry, and my second semester was like science fiction and fantasy. Where our final was creating our own world.
Ooh.
Fun. But then, like, even in college, instead of taking chemistry, I took an alchemy class, and I took a Japanese tea ceremony class, and I took a class on Mayan hieroglyphics. So
Awesome.
I mean, I graduated with a degree in a bachelor's in anthropology, so it should have been history and anthropology, but we won't talk about that.
Okay.
It sounds so cool, though, to have been
Yeah.
able to take those as courses.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's
Absolutely.
like I keep having these opportunities where people are like, "You did what now?" And then even when I was in college, I got invited to partake in the Shoshone people's version of the ghost dance called the Naraya.
Nice.
That was like, to this day, I still don't have words for that experience. But even there, like the shamans took note of me and were like, that one. I was like, who, me? That keeps happening to me my whole life. They're like, that one, me? So it's interesting.
It's kind of a double-edged sword sometimes with those things, though, right? We're never sure exactly what we're in for when we're told that.
I'm like, well,
What do you mean that
about
one?
me?
What
What am I
exactly?
supposed to be
What
doing here?
exactly is this about? It's like when my guides come in and they're like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yes." Wait,
Right,
for what? And they're already celebrating, and I'm like, wait, I didn't say ready. That was just my body." Yes, lots of fun.
Body knows, the mind resists. It's okay.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's that little. It's the ego that latches onto an imposter syndrome that like is like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. Who am I to be the person that says anything to anybody?
Yeah.
Who are you not to be?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's definitely a thing. Sorry. And she goes off on her own little journey there with that one. Okay.
We do tend to do that to each other, Tanys.
We do. I think that should be our topic today, actually, past lives.
Past lives. So,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I could talk about that for days. I mean, like I said, my first time I was 13 or 14. After I did that group past life session, it seemed like anytime I was like in a situation where just talking to people and like the idea of past lives came up, someone would always be like, "Oh, but yeah, I had a past life," and they start telling me about it or telling the group about it, and I would start like filling in blanks, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't know why, but I just got a download. I was there, and this is what's happening." And they're like, "How did? Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh my god!" And then we like connect.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and that has happened so like countless times. Like I don't even know how many times.
Well, it happened with us. I'm not quite sure what this full story is, but I know that we definitely have lives together. You know, and then Jen and I have been in almost all our lives together, I think. So that's kind of cool. In various relationships and such.
You got to try them all.
I think it's been kind of across the board.
It has, yeah. Mother, daughter, both ways, sisters. I think we were married a few times, and well, I know we were, and then best friends. You know, it's pretty
well,
cool.
I'm pretty sure that you were a baby sister in life where I got killed as a witch because I was like the village wise woman.
Right. Oh, I do remember us talking about that now. I think we were both kind of in channeling, so I sort of like, I have to cement it into the brain piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
And then when I was 16, I don't know what got into me, but I just started like, I never had any formal training. I just started doing past life regressions for people. And like how I knew how to do it.
Because you've done it before.
But I just like went right into it, and it just, I mean, there's been a few years where it's kind of like, whatever. But it's been something I keep coming back to over and over again. I mean, after I graduated with my degree in anthropology, I went and got a degree in acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine. And right around the time the pandemic was hitting, I was like, wait, has no one done acupuncture past life regression together? We should do that.
We should do that.
So I got a download and I started doing research into like the different points that would be good for that kind of session. And I started offering them, and it's been pretty amazing, some of those sessions. I mean, there's always going to be a few where the person's just so blocked they got nothing.
Yeah.
But with the acupuncture, I find that is less likely than when I was doing like group past life regressions at the spa I worked at, where actually it's kind of funny how often someone who is very into the woo would bring someone that wasn't, and the woo person fell asleep, and the person who wasn't woo had like a full past life experience. They're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Welcome to being activated.
Right? You're like, oops, sorry. Yeah, I activated sometimes.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So welcome, Brenda. I didn't show any of these, or did I? Because we've got some people in here that are chatting. So this was around when we were talking about imposter syndrome. Kaylee said that's what friends are for. They can tell that imposter syndrome to quiet down. And we have Brenda. Hey, Brenda. Welcome. So maybe we should duck into the update.
Sure.
Update. That'd be good. So Schumann is pretty quiet. There's no need to even bring these up on the screen, to be honest. We've just had a couple of C flares over the last couple of days. There's been nothing really noteworthy for the last 3 or 4 days in terms of solar flares. And our Schumann's at 11 and has been very quiet. So energetically speaking, where that's concerned, it's been quiet. The full moon, however, was intense. I don't know about you guys, but that was intense. Yeah. A whole lot of releasing going on everywhere.
Oh, everywhere. Well, I was doing readings that day with Linda de Gonzalez, and like the message that kept coming through for everybody was like, time to release the stuff that doesn't work. It's time to let go. Just like, okay, we get it.
Got it. Yeah.
We're all releasing. Yes. It's autumn. We should be releasing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's so funny you say that, because we did our live card reading on Friday, and it was very much the same. There's a lot of releasing to happen, a lot of letting go to happen, a lot of processing. So very much tapping into that energy for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's a universal thing right now. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hi,
Hey,
Garnet.
Ocean. Ocean Garnet. Hello. So what have we got going on with
our transits?
Yeah.
So we are in the 50. The gate 50, the gene key 50. If you look at this, reminds you of anything?
Looks like the world.
Yeah, it's the wheel, right? The wheel of samskara, that energy. And we're looking at moving from the shadow of corruption to the siddhi of harmony through the gift of equilibrium. And so it's really about looking at what is going on inside of us that causes us to stagnate, right? We think about corruption, and I think that as a whole, we go, ooh, I don't really like that word.
Well, it's a bit dense.
And we don't, we don't want to tap into that. But what ends up happening when we don't give our attention to what is going on, the corruption is able to build, right? It's this kind of, I talk about like that insidiousness, right? And corruption has that. And if we don't look at it, what ends up happening is we fall victim to it and we're not conscious of it, right? And so the energy of this, it's really interesting. This is one of the harmonic gates, and it is about changing frequency, right? And when we're in the shadow of corruption, we're no longer working to change that frequency. There's a resignation that shows up, and we end up self-perpetuating, right? That idea of like, I've tried and tried and tried, and nothing is working and nothing is changing. And it just feels like it's repeating itself. And so there is a kind of a giving up almost that happens. And that is that corruption piece, right? And so we want to be really mindful of, am I settling? Am I resigning? Am I just kind of going, okay, I've tried and nothing's happening, so I'm just going to sit here, right? Versus finding a way to kind of pivot, right? And this is that energy of, what do I really want and how do I take a stand for that? And it's an internal stand, right? We're talking here about overcoming karmic stuff. Like, there's a lot here that we're working on with each incarnation that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And each time we're here, there's something that we're working on overcoming, right? And Richard Rudd, when he talks about this in the Gene Keys, he actually equates it to a movie. And you know how, the hero's there and there's all this corruption around them. And it's like, despite all the odds, they're going to push through and fight through and bring themselves into something else. And so that's really this energy of, fine tuning where we're at and what we want, so that we can step beyond the corruption piece and go, no, you know what? I do want to pivot. I want to break these old patterns, bring in these new harmonics, and make space for something different in my experience. And doing that through the gift of equilibrium. So being able to step into contemplation, right? Being able to step into energy where I recognize that, yes, this shadow energy is going to be here and it's going to be a part of my experience, and it's meant to move me, right? I'm not meant to be stuck in that shadow. I'm meant to understand it so that I can move from it, right? And finding that equilibrium allows us to become harmonic in the way that we are experiencing. And that can bring about, huge amounts of creativity, and allowing ourselves to actually use the harmonics within ourselves to shift vibrations around us, right? So it's really about coming home to the harmonics that we're meant to resonate with. But doing that in a way that, again, with all of this work, with every gate that we go through, every gene key, we have to look at all aspects. So the shadow aspect all the way to the enlightened aspect. And so this gift of equilibrium is really this entire process of this wheel, and being able to find balance and figure out what it is to really live this experience fully.
I was just imagining someone finally crawling out of their rut that they've been creating for years.
And it's so hard to do that, isn't it?
Tarot drag.
Hello, dear friends.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, I think it's really easy to dig ourselves that hole.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like to, use as an example with clients is, we think we're digging down, right? And we're digging ourselves deeper and deeper, but really we're just digging in, right? And so if we just turn around, the exit's right there.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that hard to get out of it. We just have to shift our focus, right? But we're not digging ourselves into a hole that we can't actually get out of.
Right. Very good.
I like the analogy. Love.
Hi, Leah.
Hello.
Awesome.
So I have an app that I look at a lot of days, speaking of energy of the day, and it looks at the Mayan calendar to see what the Mayan symbol of the day is. Now let me go back. For those of you who are interested, if you type in that word Tolkien into the App Store, it should pop up. And I like it because it just has a quick little, it shows you the image of the day, what number it is. So it's, the lines are 5. So it's 10 eek. Time to take care of the home front today, literally and figuratively. Lahun helps you nurture the bonds and relationships among your family members, providing stability and cooperation, while Ike enables you to cleanse and purify any misunderstandings, resentments, or recent quarrels, refreshing our relations with new perspectives. Our time on this planet is short, and Lahun days remind us to enjoy the time we do have with those we love, for that is the most treasured of all.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
so it always, I like reading it in the morning just to like know what kind of energy is going on, because there's been days where it's just like, yeah, you probably want to just stay home today. It's like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just stay home today.
Yep.
And then, something horrible happens.
There's a line reading,
Right.
bumping into stuff.
Yep. Some days are like that, right? Something that should take you like, 2 minutes takes you like half an hour just because you keep bumping into blocks, right? Some days are like that.
Yeah.
And Leah says she's a red spectral serpent
Oh, cool.
in Mayan astrology.
Very
And any idea what that means?
Well, it's been a while since I looked up all that stuff, but so in the Mayan calendar, it's like days, weeks, years, and there's the cycle of it's 10 days, and the week is 10 days long. God, it's been way too long. It's been like
It's okay.
20.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's all
No,
good.
I mean, 20 years ago, I took Mayan hieroglyphics class, and so I learned a lot about Mayan stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean, I dived into it a little bit, but I remember it was 2001? I think it was either 2000 or 2001 when I was taking that class. I remember someone raising their hand and asking, "So is the world going to end in 2012?" And I'd never seen that teacher get mad. And the funniest thing was, you could tell he was mad because he was like, his face was red and the veins are bulging in his neck. But he never lost that like calm monotone voice that he always had that put half the class to sleep. And he was like yelling in this like calm monotone voice. It was so hysterical. But he basically was like, "That's a bunch of bull," and like, it just means that the calendar zeroes out and the long count starts again. That's all it means.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
And they say that the Mayan calendar is the most accurate of all the calendars that humans have come up with. So
I have heard that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're glad you did.
thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to be here.
And then we have, oh dear. All right. Leah has some insight there in terms of
I'm a spark that lights the sacred fires. Awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone do like my whole thing before. What was it? Ahun was my sign. I can't remember what the number was, which is where you get like the color and everything too. But yeah, basically I came through as being the light.
Nice.
That is awesome.
She says it has a connection to the Kundalini energy, the connection with the DNA spiral, and the spiral energy.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Big hello to Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda. Thanks for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, we were talking about past lives. Like, how much memory do you actually get when you come up, like when a past life bubbles up? Do you get just like a scene, or do you get like, here's the life from birth to death?
it depends, I'm going to say. I think for me, it's more snippets, but I'll get like a bunch of different snippets. But sometimes it's like a movie in my head, but it's not usually the whole lifetime. It's usually, it seems that they're showing me stuff that I need to clear from the past lives, because I seem to see the heavy stuff more than anything, unless I'm specifically going after, who was I, what was I in this life, or what was I in that life. Otherwise, it sort of comes for me anyway in mini snippets.
Mini snippets.
Yeah.
What about you, Jennifer?
A little bit of both. Trying to decide how much I want to share. I have something coming. That's why. Okay, so there are times where I have snippets, and then there are times where I could say I have a full view. But when I say a full view, it's kind of like in this lifetime. Like there's things in my life I don't actually remember. I don't really remember being like super little, and I don't, I have vague memories of different things because I've been told them and stuff like that, but I don't necessarily remember them in my childhood. And I have past lives that are like that, where I can basically understand the flow of the entire life, and I have very specific memories throughout, but I don't necessarily remember everything because I don't even remember everything about this lifetime.
I know. I mean,
Exactly.
Wait, I don't even remember everything of this life, especially it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But,
So
yeah.
yeah.
I think you probably get more length to the stories that you pull through, Jen, than what I do in terms of how they come in, because you've had some very long downloads.
And this
right?
is the thing that I was like, I don't know how much I want to share. I have something coming, and I'm actually writing a book on one of them, and it's in the works, and I keep saying it's almost there, but then they give me more, and I'm like, okay, we'll keep going.
And we had started this one that you're working on is one of the specific lifetimes.
It's a very specific lifetime.
Very specific.
And we had started working on a book of all of our lifetimes together, like pulling through pieces. We've done some regression stuff, and pulling them all through and figuring it out.
Some really neat memories, some really fun kind of experiences from the past, and some pretty hard ones.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I get that.
Yeah.
I get it. I also have had snippets. I've also had where I've seen, like, not every little detail, but like seen from beginning to end the general life and what the lessons were, kind of thing. And you're right. I noticed that when past life stuff does bubble up, it's either something very traumatic that we're still working through, or it was something that was just it was touching nirvana in a way, right? It's that moment of like
the extremes.
Pure joy. Those are the extremes. Those are the ones that bubble up, and I don't seem to see anything else. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I would say I'm about the same.
Yeah.
It's that. I've had the odd times, like I said, when I'm really asking for more information about a specific life, I'll get some mundane moments. Like one of my lifetimes, I remembered getting up in the morning and my husband, who we were eating dates on the terrace. It was in Egypt, and we were, he kissed me on the forehead before he left. Those kind of things. Right. But that's really peaceful and lovely. And I was asking specifically about that lifetime. So,
right.
Yeah. So I got that.
Makes sense. No, I am not a Cancer. In seeing Leah's question. In tropical astrology, I'm a Virgo, and in true sidereal or real sky astrology, I'm a Leo.
I'm a Leo. Yes. Oh, and
although I gotta say, even in true sidereal, when I had like my full chart done by Rochelle, the majority of signs were in Virgo. So even not being a Virgo, I have a lot of Virgo-ness that comes out.
Thanks. Oh, does he? That's cool. Mateus De Stefano has simian lines. I have simian lines on both hands, which means the line that goes right across. They aren't separated. Where's my camera? There, see?
Yeah, it just goes.
It's on both. So that's why, and we had a chat about that on one of the other shows. I think that's why she's bringing it up. Apparently JJ from Tuta Speaks says the same thing. That's cool.
Oh,
Oh, very cool.
I do not have that.
Yeah.
See, I mean, just
Yeah, see, that's what most people have, right? Is that
I also have the
split.
X and the X
Yeah.
in the middle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking at mine. I got a trident. It goes across and it goes into a trident.
Oh, yeah,
I
kind of
have the X too, I think, in this one. For sure.
trident.
Yeah. Is that the Atlantean life? I don't know.
I think so. Could be.
Amanda wants to know if I like to cook. Yes. Tropical astrology. I'm a pineapple. Tropical astrology is not tropics. It's just what we think is generic astrology.
If you get to pick, I'm going for a kiwi.
I'll do the coconut.
I'm a mango.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Do I like to cook? I do like to cook. Unfortunately, with all the weird food sensitivities I have, I don't cook as much as I used to because, everything changed once food sensitivities came into play, and I can't eat any of my favorite foods anymore.
Oh, that
would
sucks.
be really hard.
It would. Yeah.
I'm just so thankful for the I won't say the name because I don't want to, but there's a certain kind of ice cream maker, from Vermont, if you catch my drift, that makes a non-dairy version. So good. It's like the closest thing to real ice cream I've ever had. So
Beautiful.
Nice.
Leah says, I love honest, loyal Virgos. Very good. And a big hello to What a Lovely Day. Welcome.
Aloha.
Aloha. Awesome. So what's the weirdest past life that you've had come up?
The weirdest?
Oh, you're making me hungry, Amanda.
Coconut ice cream. Yeah, I'm getting hungry all of a sudden. I don't know. I mean, I've had a few kind of bizarre ones. There was one where I just caught like a very quick snippet of being a wolf doing my first like solo hunt, chasing a white rabbit in the snow-covered pine forest. And I just remember the elation of like the snow crunching under my paws and, oh my God, it's my first time. And just like, that was the only snippet I got. And then there was that one little snippet of Mintakan life, which was an interesting flash of not being here, but being somewhere else.
Yeah, my first one that I saw like that was a little like, what?
Well, right.
Yeah, I was like in this room that was like very spacey, and there was this table thing in front of me that had all these egg-shaped glass enclosures on them, and inside each one was like little trees, so like little saplings, I think. They were the size of bonsai trees, but I think they were baby trees because I think there was some deciduous and stuff there. Anyway, so I had one of the globes off, and I was tending to this little tree, and I realized that my hands were blue and that my fingers were like this long, and I only had 3 and a thumb as I was tending to this thing, and they were definitely mine. And then I look out and across, and there's an opening in the wall, and I can see a hallway with a window into space. And that was kind of my first realization that maybe I hadn't had all my lives here. And I was like,
Oh,
those were definitely my hands, because I was like literally looking at them, and I'm going, okay, interesting. Yeah.
you just brought back a memory for me. when I was younger,
You're
you know
welcome.
how, like kids with kids like trace their hand to like draw a hand on a piece of paper.
Yep.
I used to always trace it in like different ways. So it'd be a 3-handed, 3 fingers with a thumb, or lots of times it was like, 2 fingers and a thumb. And
Interesting.
right. And I always somehow drew, like, especially when it was like this hand, there's always like electricity circling between these fingers.
Oh, so cool.
That is cool. What were you? Which
I
lifetime
know,
is that?
I'm pretty sure I originate from Mintaka, so I mean.
An interesting feature.
Well, and the thing is, the whole starseed thing, every time I read the different starseeds, they all sounded right. Like none of them sounded wrong. They all sounded familiar until I read the Mintakan one. And then it was just like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Been are all the other ones as well, but that's where I'm from.
So I have a question about that for you, because for me, I was like that with a number of them. And I had my chart done, and I do have markers from different ones. So I have been a number of different ones. But when I first started looking into it, I was convinced that I had been Syrian. And I was like, but not. So I couldn't figure out why. And then I was told that I was actually Pleiadian, but I was a delegate. And I was like a diplomat or whatever on Sirius, but I was Pleiadian.
Wow.
So that was kind of an interesting thing. So having said that, I'm wondering if you were perhaps a diplomat or doing some ambassador work.
Mm-hmm. More than likely, because like the Palladians sounded very familiar to me. Like, oh yeah, I've been there.
Yep.
I feel like I was a Mintakan delegate, maybe going to the different planets. So, but I do know that I was on Mintaka when it was destroyed. That was one of the flashes I had.
Oh, you and Jen have both had that kind of experience then. That sucks. Did you want to share yours, Jen, or no?
Yeah. This is actually the life I'm writing about. And it was the Lyran life during the war.
Yeah. I was with her when she first kind of got the memory back, and it was rather traumatic.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were just telling me about it and you were upset about it. You may have gotten it at an earlier time.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you're going to do past life work, you got to be ready to do the heavy lifting, because it's not easy work.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to look in the shadows, because you will be forced to look in there with the memories that pop up. Because some of those memories, I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't even have imagine it if I wanted to. Just from watching what we make for TV and movies and stuff. Like some of that stuff that boiled up was just like, I don't even want to talk about it because it was so horrific. I mean,
well, and we do things in our other lives that, we wouldn't ever even dream of doing in this life, right? I think that's what you mean.
Right.
Like there's some things that just, and of course, some of that is because it's different cultures from ours. Some of it was a different time, and the value of human life was different.
One of my past lives was I was a Japanese. I think I was a samurai. I'm not even sure. I just know that the flash I got was my wife and kids sobbing as I go towards the official building where you do the Harry Carry thing, and my friend was coming with me to chop the head off to make my suffering less, and I had to have that memory of doing it, and that was heavy. And I was only how old was I when that came up? I think I was 19 maybe when that memory boiled.
Oh my goodness.
So
I was always a loving princess who sang and had her animal friends do my homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
right?
Well, I mean, and there's just like, and then there's just like certain memories that you're just like, oh my God, that's horrible. But really, what, like, what can I do now other than just acknowledge it and be,
Yeah.
like, hold the space for that past self? Like,
Well,
one
and
of
I
the,
think, when they come back for me, I use the Ho'oponopono because
right.
it's like clearing the energy, because I feel like there's a component where we store all that energy in our soul DNA, which is permeating our whole body. So we're carrying it. And so when we can clear it, like we do even early life, this one, right? When we have to
But
clear
also
traumatic
facing
stuff.
that really helps you with stuff you struggle with in this life. Like,
It
for the
does.
longest time, I've had this weird thing of like fear of abandonment. I mean, part of it's because my parents got divorced when I was 3, but I had a flashback of being like a nursemaid in Babylon, but I was like an old woman. My breast wouldn't produce milk anymore. And I just remember sitting in like the empty nursery sobbing because I didn't know what was going to come of me. Like, this family was going to kick me out now because they dried me up and didn't need me anymore. And so they weren't going to keep me around if I couldn't produce. And that was all I knew. And so it's like, oh, that's where all that like fear of abandonment, fear of like failure, fear of not being enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, oh,
It's amazing
okay.
how
I
much
acknowledge
of
that. Okay, let's
that
embrace
past stuff we carry forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I had a memory of, of course, being in the witch trials and stuff as a witch. And then I also had a memory of being a judge in another lifetime. And so I was like, oh, and they were like, yeah, we're showing you this because that way you know the extent of the karmic thing. Like you have to experience both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But that was a weird memory because they overlapped for me. So it was like I was seeing a courtroom and like I was here as a witch and I was also the one as the judge.
Oh, you
and I was like, that's
like, wait,
so weird.
Myself. What?
It was so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they definitely will show both sides often that we've experienced.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what has helped in processing and working through a lot of the stuff from past lives, is being able to look at it from both sides and recognize that we have, we have all of it within us. We need to look at and explore.
That's one of the reasons why with my acupuncture aided past life regressions, I always have them pick something that they're struggling with in this life right now, that like they can't remember where it came from. It just seems to have always been there. Let's find the past life that's from. Okay, let's see why that formed, that like pattern of behavior or like certain type of relationship formed in the first place, because it was a defense mechanism, right? You use it to defend yourself. Why? Let's find out why. Because once you find out why and why that pattern was embraced, I think it's easier to let go of it. And then I always have them come with their past life self and their higher self, like make a triangle kind of thing, just to meditate on the situation and the pattern that was taken on so that they could release it back to the higher self, right? And you're healing your current self and your past self at the same time by doing it.
Yeah, it's really that quantum healing, right? Quantum.
Exactly. Getting both selves into that, what I call the interworld, in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. In therapy, we do internal family systems, IFS, is, our parts work. And it's such an interesting thing when we recognize that some of our parts are actually representations of past lives, right? And things that show up for us that, hold different energies. And we have to be able to work through that in order to integrate and release. So.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, and I always find if I'm triggered with something big now, that if I follow the trail, there's all these other lifetimes that end up coming up to be cleared at the same time.
Mhm.
So I had one clearing, I guess it was like an abandonment thing. And when I started into it, it snowballed into a bunch of lives where I lost children
Mm.
in all these lives. One where it was taken away, another one where I had a stillbirth, and I had to birth it anyways. And and I have a hybrid daughter, and so it was also about that, and seeing the scene of having to leave her and come back, those kind of things, which were
Wow.
it was heavy. So I had a whole week where I was kind of dealing with that something had happened when I was a kid too, that was about abandonment. And I was left on a subway when I was like 12 by myself in England. And
Wow.
so it was like all of the abandonment stuff came down on me that week. It was a whole week of like, okay, I just need to wade through all of this stuff.
Okay, we're processing.
It's a week to process, clear the books. Let's get her done.
Let's clear this so we don't have to deal with this ever again.
Exactly. So that's what I did.
Or
Oh my goodness.
hard but beautiful.
And that's when we talk about this, guys, that's the work, right?
Mhm.
It's clearing, it's acknowledging, it's working through, it's so
Don't do the hard stuff, you don't get to the good stuff.
that's right. Yeah, you got to be willing to do the work. When we say that, that's what we mean.
Yep.
Work through it.
Definitely.
Acknowledge, feel, release. And we all have our own methods of doing that. And just like there is just as many methods of doing that as there are people.
There are people.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So we've got a bunch of.
A lot of stuff going on in the chat there.
There. So we want to say hello to Carla. Hey, Carla.
Hello.
Here we go. Where are we? I had one come forward where I was a human sacrifice. Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting time. I had a memory back then. Jen and I have one together in one of those where we had to do that. And it was awful. Absolutely. I still try and clear that. I'm still working on that. That was so heavy. So heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's the other thing to remember is like you feel like you've cleared it all, but then you come back around to it and realize, wait, there's still more to be cleared.
Well, I think you kind of clear one aspect of it, right? So you might, like, for that lifetime, I might clear the fact that I actually did it. But then in that particular lifetime, it was also my son, because I was basically told if I didn't do my son, then the whole family would die. And so I wasn't really given a viable choice there. So, yeah. Anyway, not to make things heavy, but that's the kind of thing that happened back in those lifetimes, right? So like the human sacrifice.
Willing to carry that heaviness though, in order to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've actually done some work on that and with my son as well, because he was in part of that lifetime. So, when you do the work, it's good to clear it, because I feel so much better when I do that, when we've got all these experiences like that. And writing about it like Jen is very cathartic, right, Jen? Like being able to get it out. Yeah.
Well, coming here on YouTube and talking has been part of my process of clearing out some of that stuff, because I can't even tell you how many lives I got killed by the throat, or like I was stepping forward to say something, got an arrow to the throat, or I was seen as an outsider and strung up by the throat. I mean, there was so many ways. But even when I did Harry, how did I really die? The throat, like, right? I mean, over and over and over again.
And you were beheaded a number of times as well. Not just the Harry Carey life, but there were a couple of other ones they're showing me.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, almost every time I die had something to do with the throat, the neck. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's hard to carry, especially, as you're clearing it and it comes up and it keeps coming up, and it's so interesting, and everything always aligns, but we're talking about all of this, and we're in this transit, and this transit of like, I keep trying, and it keeps happening, right? And how do I move beyond that? And it's still that energy, and it's such a beautiful thing, because that idea that things keep coming until we clear them. And it's like, okay, but this is lifetime after lifetime of it keeps coming, right? And so it's like, okay, am I in a place where I'm really willing to go, all right, I'm gonna look at this, and I'm gonna do this work, and I'm gonna shift this, because I don't want it to keep coming anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
sharing my story is that healing for my throat, because
yeah,
of how many times in all my past lives I go forward to say something and it caused my own death. So it's just like for the longer, it's like when I was in my teens and early 20s, like nothing scared me more than having to like do a presentation in front of a class.
Yeah.
Like getting up to speak. Like I don't think any of my presentations had a steady voice. I always had a shaky voice until I learned about all these lives where, that was why I passed. And then it was like slowly starting to learn how to use the voice instead of it being like this, oh no, I don't want to do anything with that. Yeah. I think has been a very healing thing, especially, being on YouTube and being able to tell my story, all my stories. So,
yeah. And that's one thing I love about this particular show too, is because we're honest about that, and we hold space for others in this, right? So I know there's a few people in the chat here talking about things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And right. It's because we're here to hold space, and I love the fact that we can have that kind of authentic conversation on here and just hold space for each other. Because what's that quote? We're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one.
I love that one.
Yeah.
So, Miss Charo D says, and yet you wear a big rope necklace around your throat, Jonathan, and you make them. Interesting connection.
Right.
It's his protection, perhaps. They can't cut through stone.
Right.
Yes. Oh, this is an interesting.
Too, because when I was younger, go hang out with the frat boys or whatever, start drinking or, smoke a little weed, whatever it was. And I would literally start feeling an arrow lodged in my throat. And then, part of it was because one of those incidences where I was sitting and talking with people and like we all had the memory bubble up was when I literally got an arrow to the throat by coming forward to speak. So it was three of us. There was me, a friend of mine who I'm still really good friends with her. She's like a sister, and she was a sister in that life. And then this other guy that we were good friends with that like kind of drifted away from. But he was her husband in that life, and we were like part of a Celtic tribe. And we were doing the yearly cycle of going from place to place to do the rituals to keep the seasons flowing. And we were heading towards, I remember vividly picturing this image of standing rocks, but we didn't get there because these men at arms, I don't know, it was definitely a group of guys. They all had like uniforms on, brown and green. And they came out, and I stepped forward to speak, got an arrow to the throat. He grabbed her, threw her over his shoulder, and went running. They launched arrows at him. Unfortunately, he wasn't thinking, and he ended up accidentally using her as a body shield.
Right.
Just the way he was carrying her. And yeah, so
she
ended
guilt there.
And he ended up spending that life like in turmoil and regret because he survived.
Yeah.
So, but that arrow, like I felt it so often. It's been cleared several times by energy workers, but every so often I can still feel it.
Yeah. I had one client who had an actual, almost a scar where he had been stabbed in a past life, and he had the scar in this life and nothing had happened. Like it can be that intense, which is cool, but not,
Especially when you're like 14 and getting like strep throat and tonsillitis like 15 times in 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how it shows up. I mean,
right. Yeah, definitely. Well, we have our friendly 5-minute warning, girl.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And
I was going to mention that if anyone is interested in working with me through any past life stuff, I also offer, and if you can't come out here to Maui to get acupuncture, I do offer Zoom sessions with past life regression, usually involving tarot at the end too, just to like peel back a few more layers. And reach out. All my information's in my link tree, which I believe Tanys has put in the bottom there, and
down below.
Am I this way? Yeah. Is that right? Am I going the right way?
Yes.
You're
okay.
Yes. Yes, you are. Right. Follow Jen's finger. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone's interested, I do make wearable crystal grid necklaces specifically for this kind of work. I don't think of this as jewelry. This is a spiritual tool. Used for meditation, for like, I've had people ask me to make them for ancestral work, for specific deities, just to help bring them peace because they don't have inner peace at the moment. So I'd make them a necklace. And anytime they were feeling they needed more peace, they'd put on the necklace. So I realized that I cannot just make necklaces and put them out to sell. I have to make them specifically for you because your guides have to come in and help me make them.
Well, that's what makes them special.
Exactly.
Right? You can buy necklaces anywhere, but not like that.
No.
Right? They're just beautiful. Beautiful energy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What else have you got going on this week?
Tomorrow I'm a guest on Deborah Zachow, the creator of the Clarity Tarot, and she just had a book come out, Deciphering the Tarot. So she's having me over on her channel because when her deck originally came out, she was a guest on my channel, I think like 5 times, just because we were like talking and people were really interested in what she had to say. And so it's going to be fun to be on the other side for a change. And that's tomorrow. I think it's 9 a.m. my time, which is noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, if I'm doing the math right.
Sounds about right. Yep. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
If
you subscribe to my channel, I almost always put links in my community tab. Like I put a link for this in my community tab. I'll always put a link in on the guests somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys for inviting me too.
Jen, what have you got going on this week?
Well, I think this is it for this week.
I know we're recording a show this week.
We're recording, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
We've got Therapists in Conversation.
Yeah, I think that's it for this week. And I've got another thing coming up, but it's not next week, so I'll talk about it next week.
Next week
coming up.
We have a huge busy week this week, or at least I do anyway. I'm looking at my schedule thinking, oh my God. I'm like, okay, we're doing all that this week, are we? All right then.
You're like, who scheduled this? Oh, right, it was me.
That was me.
I talk to my past self and tell her what's going on here.
Gonna have to have a chat with the boss. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I need to talk to my admin and sort this out. I'm like, that's something.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Right. Oh, I did this to myself. Okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so Ho'oponopono in the mirror. Got it. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I don't have a lot online this week. We do have our therapists. Jen and I are both in that. So stay tuned. That comes out probably the following week, I think. Okay? It's usually a week after.
It's the month, I think, that it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there.
And then don't forget, everyone, we've got the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact Conference coming up on November 3rd. And I'm the first speaker of the day, so I'm early, 7 a.m. Eastern.
Wow.
I know it's early.
That's early.
Really early.
Eastern is like 1 a.m. my time. I'm asleep.
It's really early. But I'm super honored to be speaking. I think it's going to be a wonderful day. And it's free or by donation. So if you are interested, you can always tune in there. I just tuned in. What did I miss? I can always watch the recording.
A lot.
This is Dawn.
You have to watch the recording.
You got to watch the recording, Dawn.
Yeah, we can't go.
It's actually pretty awesome. Jonathan shared about past life stuff that was quite fascinating to hear about. So we appreciated that.
Kaylee's suggesting I just pull an all-nighter.
Yeah.
For those of you that know me, I'm a bit of a night owl, so I don't go to bed really early. So there's almost still up time.
Yeah, there's times you text me, I'm like, wait, what time is it over there? What's she still doing now?
2 a.m. and I'm like texting Jonathan. Yeah. So anyway,
I'm still awake because it's 6 hours earlier.
That's right. So he's good. Yeah.
I'm more likely to see 7 a.m. than I am to see 1 p.m. or 1 a.m.
Yeah, I'm definitely the opposite. I'm definitely more likely to see 1 a.m. than 7 a.m.
Whereas I'm like, I start my drive at 7 a.m. to get my kid to school. So it's like I'm up by 6 at the latest, usually.
My crew's out the door by 7. So we're up and
gotta go.
Early. So that 1 a.m. thing is like, that's only if I got woke up in the middle of the night.
Well, for me, I just ended up, my schedule just shifted because I work in the evening all the time. So I end up, if you were to work till 5, you'd be up for a few hours after, right? When you get home,
right.
Have your dinner and all that stuff. So my schedule had shifted.
Your shift just went.
Yeah. Which works out actually kind of well because I do deal with people all over the world. So there's different time zones and all that stuff. Yeah. So it gives me a little bit of flexibility, but yes.
I'm in a very weird time zone compared to the rest of the world.
Awesome. What have you got, Jen? We do have our home play.
Our home play. So from
that we give
feminine.
Or we share. And then you can either take it or leave it, whatever you prefer.
I'm going to take it. It's a deep breath.
Oh.
I'm going to need that this week. By the looks of my schedule.
Right. Anytime you look at your schedule and you start getting a little anxious,
breathe.
Remember, take a deep breath.
You got it. All right, here we go. So it says, you have been holding your breath, grandchild. It is time to fill your lungs with life-giving air and become one with the sacred element. Expand your chest. Take a moment and breathe deeply. In, out. Your breath is one with the breath of life. Have you noticed that your breathing occurs whether you think about it or not? This perfect breathing system keeps you alive on your earth walk and connects you with your spirit. Breathe. Focus your attention on the gentle in and out of your breath. How does it feel? Slow your breath down to the count of 5 for both the inhale and the exhale. Notice how life breathes you. Give over to this gentle, balanced cycle. Receive the stillness of the sacred feminine as it emerges with every conscious breath. Can you feel the stillness fill your mind and body? Create space within your lungs and give gratitude for life. When you enter the sacred feminine space of stillness and gratitude, you open to life and remember your communion with creation.
Wow.
Ooh, there was a lot of energy in that card.
It was. And it washed over like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I just started breathing. I had no choice.
I was all of a sudden like, oh, I'm just going to go out there for a bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know. I told him like,
I was like, okay, ground.
Wait, where are we? Oh, right.
Still supposed to be talking here. Wait, I gotta come back. What am I supposed to say? Oh yeah. That was beautiful. Thank you, Jen. That's awesome.
Gorgeous.
Yes, and Hypnocity says, breathe, just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we forget to do that. And Rachel says, you guys are still on. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I always have to remind my clients, okay, just because the needles are going in doesn't mean you have to hold your breath. Keep breathing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful reminder.
Well, it's even in the card, it talks about how the breath, like we just breathe and we don't really think about it, but not consciously thinking about it, our breath gets shallow. We're not really using it to bring that oxygen in and to rejuvenate the body. And so being able to be intentional with the breath is such a valuable tool.
Definitely.
Breathing exercises are so important.
Mm-hmm. Pranayama.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. Well,
we are not doing readings, Rachel. Sorry.
No, sorry. This is simply discussion. It's our usual Twillow Talk, where we talk about all sorts of topics, and we've been honored today to have Jonathan Dailey join us and talk about past lives and all his adventures.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
quite the adventurous life.
We're
I
super
tell
grateful.
you about going to Thailand when I was 16. I mean,
oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have you come back, and then you can talk about Thailand. Then we'll pick a different topic.
Ireland when I was in college, and then China when I was in acupuncture school. I mean,
okay, cool. We got more shows.
We could talk about travel. Just fill an hour on my travels alone.
There you go.
There you go. You're on. We'll have another show.
Yeah, definitely. I'm willing.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Jonathan. Absolutely. Jen, final words?
Take a breath. Let it go. What are you noticing?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, any final words?
Okay. You want me to tell them? Okay. The guy just wrote. They're saying that anytime that you're feeling like something is like too hard, too frustrating, take a step back, take a deep breath, and try it a different way. Because 9 times out of 10, when it's too hard, you're doing it wrong. So,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. So again, thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. And thank you all for watching in live and reruns. We always appreciate having you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channels, all 3. And we'll be back next week. We'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.